The rain tapped against the window like a metronome marking time. Each drop a reminder of how quiet the house had become. I sat alone at the edge of the leather couch, a glass of red wine in my hand, staring at nothing. My husband Ethan was upstairs in his office as always, on a call closing another deal, preparing for some meeting that would never matter. To me, we'd grown accustomed to coexisting like this under the same roof, breathing the same air, yet living entirely separate lives. When I married Ethan, 4 years ago, I thought I'd found a man who would ground me, protect me, and share life with me. But over time, the grounding became confinement, the protection became absence, and sharing turned into silence. I didn't blame him at first. He had responsibilities, a company to run, employees to answer to. But slowly I stopped being on the list of things he answered to. Our dinners became eaten separately. Our conversations reduced to updates about the bills or grocery deliveries. The man who once sent me poems now sent me payment reminders. And I stopped expecting more. Then Liam came home, Ethan's son from his first marriage. Liam had been away at college the past 2 years. When he walked through the front door, suitcase in hand, and a familiar grin on his face, I remembered the boy who used to be quiet, observant, polite. But the young man who returned was different, taller, stronger. A hint of stubble now, where there had once been boyish cheeks. He greeted me with a simple, "Hey, Monica," before heading upstairs. But something in his eyes lingered. Something, knowing I watched him from the kitchen as he wandered the house over. The following days, he noticed things. The way I avoided Ethan's touch. The way I'd paused when the phone rang, hoping it might be someone else. He didn't say anything. He didn't need to. Liam had always been the kind to see through people without ever announcing it. A week into his stay, Ethan hosted a small dinner at home to celebrate a new business contract among. The guest was Julian, Ethan's longtime business partner. Julian had charm to spare too much, if you ask me. His eyes lingered a second longer than necessary. His compliments skirted the edge of propriety, and unlike my husband. Julian noticed the little things. My dress, my necklace, the way I poured wine, like I needed it. As the evening went on, I felt the weight of Julian's glances settle on my skin. Like heat, I told myself it was nothing, I was being foolish. But then, as I reached for a serving dish across the table, our hands touched and I flinched. Not from discomfort, but from how right it felt to be noticed again. After dinner, while Ethan took a call in the study, and the guests lingered with brandy, Julian cornered me in the hallway. His voice was low, intimate. "You look neglected," he said. A shiver passed through me, equal parts alarm and thrill. I said nothing, only offered a hollow smile and stepped away. But Liam had seen us. He stood a few feet away, halfway up the stairs, one hand gripping the railing. His eyes weren't angry. They were watchful, curious. He turned and walked back up before I could say a word. That night, Ethan came to bed well after midnight. I pretended to be asleep, grateful for the distance between us in the king-sized bed. My mind, however, refused rest. It replayed Julian's words. It lingered on Liam's gaze. It pulsed with the recognition that something within me had been reignited. A hunger I hadn't felt in years. I wanted to be. Wanted again. Not just noticed, but pursued, desired. And as much as I tried to smother the thought, I knew Julian would offer that freely. The question was, would I take it? The house creaked around me as the night stretched on Ethan's. Nord beside me, oblivious Liam, was somewhere down the hall, likely replaying what he saw. And I stared into the darkness, haunted by my own reflection, in the mirror across the room. Something had started that night, an invisible thread tugging at the fabric of our lives. I didn't know then how it would unravel, only that it would. And when it did, it wouldn't be quiet. It would be loud, messy, irreversible. But in that moment, I didn't stop it. I didn't want to. The first time it happened, I told myself it would be the last. It was a lie I clung to. One eye whispered into the air between Julian and me as we pulled apart in the shadows of his car parked 2 blocks from the house. My lips still burned from his kiss, and yet I was already rehearsing excuses, reasons why it hadn't meant anything. How it had just been a moment of weakness, but weakness has a way of repeating itself when left unchecked. Ethan, as usual, noticed nothing. He worked late at a later and fell asleep with his phone in hand. I became just another fixture in a house, like the rug beneath the coffee table. Present, familiar, and overlooked. With Julian, I wasn't invisible. His eyes didn't skim past me. They drank me. In he remembered things. What wine I preferred. The music I hummed while cooking. The way I twisted my hair when nervous. And I let him remember I encouraged it. The affair evolved quietly. A secret living between stolen hours and whispered phone calls. We met in places designed for discretion, dim hotel rooms, the backseat of his car, and once shamefully in the guest bathroom of a housewarming party Ethan hosted. The thrill was intoxicating, the danger. Even more so, I felt alive again, pulsing with urgency and desire. Thought had died years ago, but the house didn't stay quiet forever. Liam changed subtly at first. He stopped lingering in the living room when I entered. Our polite exchanges grew shorter, colder. Once I caught him watching me through the reflection of a hallway mirror. Heiss expression, unreadable. I smiled. He didn't smile back. I tried to dismiss it. Perhaps he was just settling back into the rhythms of home. But there was an edge to him now, a caution, a restraint that Madame uneasy I began to feel, watched judged not by Ethan. He was still as oblivious as ever, but by Liam, who saw more insolence than most people did in speech. One Saturday afternoon, Ethan left for a weekend conference in Denver. I told him I'd spend the time organizing the garage. Barely looked up from his laptop. Ash kissed my cheek. Goodbye. An hour later, Julian was in our kitchen, barefoot and bold, holding a bottle of wine like it was a peace offering. This feels reckless, I murmured as he set 2 glasses on the counter. That's what makes it worth it here, plied, brushing a hand along the curve of my back. The house was still. The wine was warm. His mouth found mine before the second glass was poured. We didn't make it upstairs. The couch became our refuge. The same one, Ethan and I hadn't sat on together in weeks. Julian's hands were eager, confident, and I surrendered to Theli that it was just us in that moment. But we weren't alone. I heard the door click shut a second too late. My body froze mid-motion. Julian straightened, confused, until I looked over his shoulder and saw Liam standing in the entryway. He didn't speak. He didn't move. He just looked. His eyes flicked between me and Julian, landing on our tangled hands, my half-unbuttoned blouse. His jaw tightened, and something behind. His eye shardened like glass, catching fire. Liam, I gasped, scrambling to cover myself. I thought you were... He didn't wait for me to finish. Julian stood fumbling for his shoes, cursing under his breath. The front door opened again and he vanished, without a word. The silence that followed was unbearable. Liam, please, I whispered, stepping toward him. Take it easy. Okay, let me explain. He backed away, shaking his head slowly, eyes gleaming, not with tears, but something colder. Disgust. Betrayal. I knew, he said quietly. I knew something was off. I just didn't think you'd bring it here. I reached for him, desperate. It's not what you think. His laugh was sharp, bitter. It's exactly what I think. Then he turned and walked upstairs, footsteps deliberate, echoing like judgment with every step I stood, their blouse clutched to my chest, watching the staircase as if it might collapse. My heart thundered with the weight of consequence. In that moment, it was no longer about Ethan. It was about Liam and what he would do with what he now knew. Liam didn't speak to me for 3 days. He emerged only to eat, eyes glued to his phone, replying in monosyllables when spoken to. The tension thick in the air made the house feel smaller. Every room became a place I avoided, each one echoing with memories. I couldn't erase Ethan remained clueless, which made the silence more excruciating. I wanted to confess to come clean, but fear held me hostage. I didn't know which betrayal was worse, the one Ethan didn't see coming, or the one Liam would never forget. On the 4th night, as I loaded the dishwasher in a trance, Liam's voice broke the quiet like a blade. "Are you going to tell him, or should I?" I froze, gripping a glass, so tightly I thought it might shatter. I turned, slowly finding him in the doorway, arms crossed, face unreadable. "Liam, please," I said, my voice low. "This isn't something you understand." He raised a brow. "No crime." I tried to explain, to justify months of deception with emotional emptiness, loneliness, the illusion of love in the arms of someone who paid attention. But my words fell flat. They sounded flimsy, hollow, even to me. "You think that gives you permission?" he said. "You think because he's not perfect, you get to burn everything down?" "No, I don't," I began, but he cut me off. "You cheated on my dad in his house with his friend." There was no point arguing. The truth didn't bend under sentiment. It stayed rigid. Immovable. Liam had seen too much hard enough and believed only what he'd witnessed. "Are you going to tell him?" he asked again. I couldn't speak. My mouth opened, but nothing came. He shook his head. "I already warned Julian. He said told him to stay away. Threatened to expose both of you." The blood drained from my face. "You did what he doesn't scare me. You should have picked someone smarter, or at least someone who cared enough not to ruin lives on his way out the door." His words sliced through me with brutal precision. For a moment, I hated him, not because he was wrong, but because he was right. Later that evening, I stood in our bedroom doorway, while Ethan packed a small overnight bag. He hadn't asked questions. I had finally told him everything, bracing for rage, for yelling for something that would justify the guilt crushing me. But instead, he was quiet, controlled. His silence said more than shouting ever could. "I'm staying at a hotel," he said. "Just for a few days. We'll talk after that." He didn't look at me when he closed the zipper. Didn't touch me when he walked past. The next morning, Julian's name was gone from the company's website. His office was emptied within the week. Ethan moved into the guest room and began speaking to me like a business partner, curt, professional, without warmth. We lived as strangers, drifting in parallel through the same space. It was almost poetic, the way our marriage ended, not in fire, but frost. Liam avoided me altogether. If we crossed paths in the hallway, he didn't stop. If I spoke, he didn't answer. The silence between us was colder than Ethan's, and somehow more final. The day before Liam left to return to school, I stood in the kitchen folding a dish towel over and over just to keep my hands busy. He walked in with his duffel bag slung over one shoulder, eyes as unreadable as the day he caught me. "Have a safe trip," I said, softly forcing a smile. He didn't respond. Just opened the fridge, grabbed a bottle of water, and turned toward the door. "Liam," I called, my voice barely a whisper. "Take it easy, okay?" He stopped with his hand on the knob. Slowly, he turned to face me. "You should have thought of that," he said, before any of this started. The door clicked shut behind him. I stood there, alone, the silence roaring in my ears, the weight of my choices pressing into my chest.